Happy New Year, guys. Can you see me and hear me clearly?
Happy New Year. Yes, I can see you and hear clearly.
Awesome. Great. So, very happy New Year to all of you. And let's begin this year with a lot of studies and with a lot of practice. Yeah. So, we'll open today's session. Keep your back and neck straight and gently close your eyes. Start observing your breath. Watch the natural flow of your breathing as you inhale and as you exhale. Slowly shift the attention to your posture. Check that your body is properly aligned. So just make your back and neck straight. Relax your neck and shoulders. Your face should be completely relaxed. And your weight should be equally balanced on both your hips. Once you adjust your body, gently come back to your breathing. And now begin to deepen your breathing. Slow, long and deep inhalations. Slow, long and deep exhalations. Relax your mind. We will chant Om 3 times, followed by 3 Shantis. Take a deep breath in for Om. 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 Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Feel the vibrations. Join your palms together and begin to rub your palms together. Keep your palms on your eyes. Very slowly, while blinking and looking at your palms, begin to open up your eyes and come back with a big smile. Namaste to everyone. Let us begin our session for today. So these are your yoga philosophy classes. First, I'll just briefly introduce myself. My name is Soumya, and I will be conducting your philosophy as well as pranayam classes for this month. So I would just like all of you to just briefly introduce yourselves as well and what you are expecting out of these classes, if you could share that. So you can just include your name, where you are from, and what you're expecting out of these classes in your introduction. So you feel free to unmute yourself and just introduce yourself.
Hello, nice to meet you, Soumya ji. My Dharma name is Karma Palden Zangmo. That's why I write here Palden. My Russian name is Venera. I was born in Russia. I live now in Kathmandu, Nepal. And I don't expect anything, just accept. And I visited one of your classes last month because I started not from the beginning. This is the beginning, the full day, and I liked so much, and I feel this especially. With the Om chanting and chanting, it's very, very deep vibration, positive energy. So it's present from the beginning to the end of the class. So I admire you very much, Soumya ji.
Great.
Thank you.
So in these classes, you'll get to learn so much. So awesome.
Yes, thank you for your positive vibes. And I also like philosophy. It's, I think, like a core of all the yoga. I think so. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Great. So Thomas, would you like to introduce yourself? I can see you are here.
Hi, Soumya. I think you know me already. I completed the 200-hour course previously. Then now I'm joining the 300-hour course. But because I'm working now, so sometimes I miss the classes here and there. So I like to catch up on the online class.
Awesome. And what are you expecting out of this class?
I want to learn more about the philosophy aspect of yoga, because like everyone's interpretation and understanding of the philosophy is a little bit different. So I like to learn more about the philosophy aspect.
Awesome. Great. Okay, so let's begin with our session today. So this is your yoga philosophy class, right? So both yoga and philosophy, these are very, very wide terms. Okay, so today we are mostly going to touch upon what philosophy is, and then I will take you to the point where you reach yoga philosophy, right? So before we begin today, I have a very short activity for you guys. So if you have a pen and paper around you, just grab that. And I want you to write the number 5 in all the ways that you can, right? So not specifically the number 5, you can represent it in different ways. Like if I write 5 in some other language, it will look differently, or I could add some design to it and write 5 differently, right? So in that way, I want you to come up with 10 different ways of writing the number 5. And if you have any doubts, just unmute yourself and ask me. Otherwise, I'll give you 2 minutes to complete this entire activity. You have to look for 10 to 15. Okay, let's go for 10 to 15. If you find 10 too easy, you can increase the number and go till 15. You have to write the number 5 in 10 to 15 different ways. So if you guys have no doubts, I will begin the time. And yeah, if you have doubts, just unmute yourself and ask me. Okay, great. So I'll just begin your time. We'll have about 2 minutes to complete this activity. So let's begin, right? Your time has started. So in 2 minutes, I will ask you to share what you have come up with. Okay, guys, your time is up. So you can stop writing if you have come up with 10 to 15 different ways. That's okay. If you haven't, that's also okay. So if you feel like it, you can turn on your camera and just show me what you have come up with. I would love to see that thing. Oh, great. Awesome. Very, very nice. Great. Okay. So this is for you guys. Keep it with you. Okay. So the main reason why I, asked you to do this thing is because it gives you a great way to see, what philosophy actually is. So when I said the number 5, there is one image that would have come up on your mind instantly, right? And that is the way in which you have been trained to perceive the number 5, right? So for me, it came up like this only, like the way in which we write 5. But when you give it some time and you begin to brainstorm a little and look more deeply into it, you see there are multiple different ways in which you can write the number 5, right? It's only because we are trained in a particular manner that we see it in one way, and then as we give it more time and give it more understanding, we are able to go with different representations, right? So in that same way, philosophy is literally something which is quite similar to this only. There is only one truth that we are trying to see, okay? The true understanding of ourselves and everything around us, right? But when we look more closely at it, there are so many ways that have come up to look at the same truth, right? So that is shown by the various ways in which you have written the number 5. Okay. So there are multiple different ways of seeing the same reality, right? my perspective on that reality could be something else, and your perspective on that same reality could be something else. But actually, what we are trying to do is see the truth. So, this main focus should never leave you. Okay, even in your yoga philosophy classes, because we are only going to cover one philosophy, and that only we are only going to begin, right? So there is no possible way in which you can cover all of the philosophies at one time, right? So if something doesn't, fit your understanding, then you can choose to leave it behind. Don't force yourself to adopt that thing, okay, or believe in that thing just because I am talking about it, okay? Whatever suits you, whatever fits you, take that, okay, implement that thing. I will be giving you small tricks also in between, which you can use to implement certain things in your life, right? And philosophy only actually makes sense when you are able to implement it, right? And if you feel that that experiment is not working for you, okay, then you can choose to even leave it behind. Okay, later on, maybe as you proceed in your journey, some things you will be able to understand on your own, right? Nobody can force you to understand those things, right? So even though these classes are mainly focusing on one philosophy, there is in no way any force on you to believe in that philosophy. You practice, you experiment, you see. All of philosophy is about this only, right? But we will have a lot of discussions in our classes which will help us to understand why a certain thing is being said, right? So today's work for you, I like to give some tasks every day, right? Some days I don't give, but most of the days I do give something to do, right? So today your task is to see where you are. So you can jot this down in any way possible, right? If you like writing, you can write down, where you are today, how you are thinking today, or any way, right? You can draw, you can choose to record a video, you can choose to just record an audio of where you think you are when you started your course. And at the end, again, we are going to check in to see how much growth and development has taken place over the span of the entire month, right? So now this term philosophy, it has been derived from the Greek word. There are two divisions, right? So philosophy. The first term is philo, which means love. Okay? And Sophia. The second word is Sophia, which means knowledge. Philo plus Sophia. So philosophy literally means love for knowledge. Right? So I really like how philosophy is explained, because the term love is used, right? So it's not something again you are forcing on yourself. When you love something or someone, right, it comes very naturally to you, right? And it shows up in the way in which you are acting. It's never imposed on you. Love is never imposed on you. When you love, you experience freedom, right? You don't experience any burden, right? So philosophy as a subject is supposed to free you, right? It's not supposed to burden you, right? So whenever you guys, even if you plan to study philosophy ahead after these classes, look into the other schools as well. So just know that it shouldn't be a burden on you. Okay, when sometimes when we start doing something, we initially begin with a lot of enthusiasm, and then it begins to burden us. So that is not the aim of studying philosophy. First thing is this. Okay, so just keep a check on yourself. The time it begins to add a burden means you have lost touch with the um, essence of the subject. Okay. Then second thing, philosophy around the world, there are different philosophies. So our main focus is going to be the Indian philosophy. Okay. Yoga philosophy is a part of Indian philosophy. So Western philosophy, we are not going to touch upon that. Western philosophy mostly is an intellectual pursuit of truth. Again, we are trying to see truth, but it is more intellectual in nature, right? But when you come to Indian philosophy, it is more spiritual in nature. Now, spiritual only means that the implementation is very high. When yoga was passed down, so if you come to yoga philosophy only, when yoga was passed down, it was passed down as a way of living, right? So in Indian philosophy, we'll see like Buddhism is also an example of Indian philosophy. So that also mainly incorporates what you can implement in your life and how you can change your life, right? But if you take a look at Western philosophy, it is more intellectual in nature. All of us are trying to understand everything that is around us, and we are also trying to understand ourselves. You guys are here in the yoga sessions because you want to understand yourself. Okay. So this general curiosity of the human mind, when you are put in a new environment, or maybe suppose you are put in an old environment only, right? But you constantly have this curiosity to get to know everything around you, right? And if you believe that, at a certain point of time, you lose the interest to know everything around you, you gain more interest in knowing everything about yourself, right? So in this aspect, yoga philosophy is really going to help you to see your intentions, your way of doing everything that you do, right? So means that you guys are curious, and curious where you want to get to know yourself, right? And no matter how many books you read, no matter how much information you acquire, we are living in a world where we are, constantly around so much information, but despite knowing, we are unable to do, right? So Indian philosophy focuses more towards the spiritual aspect, or doing, or implementation aspect, right? But if you go to Western philosophy, the case is different. You will have realizations, yes, but practical portion, or how easily it can come into your life, that is less, right? So this term philosophy, it has a Sanskrit term also. So when we are talking of Indian philosophy, we will also look at some Sanskrit terms. So darshan, darshan, darshan. In India, we call yog darshan, right? So philosophy is actually called darshan, which is derived from the root word drishya. Drish. Drishya, this is the root word of the term darshan, and this term means to see or to observe. Right? So now from philosophy, we are slowly moving towards yoga philosophy, right? So all the philosophies, they actually focus on seeing something. Like I said, you want to gain an understanding of everything around you, or maybe your own self. So for that, how do you gain that understanding? That is why the Sanskrit term, it elaborates a little bit more on the how part, right? So how do you, get to know the things, right? You see or you observe, right? When I want to get to know something, I will have to observe that thing. I cannot keep doing whatever I am doing, right? And causing so much movement, right? And then trying to see the thing for what it is, right? If there is movement, if there is just, a limited perception, then I will not be able to see the thing as it is. I will be able to see the thing as I am, right? So suppose I am constantly moving, right? So I might perceive the other thing, the thing that I'm trying to observe, that is moving, and I am constant, right? So in order to see something properly, right, you have to become more stable, right? You have to come in a position where you can step outside of the chaos and observe, right? Suppose, it's a very simple example. You're sitting on the side of the road and seeing the traffic moving, right? If you are in the traffic, you will be in a state of chaos. You will be constantly trying to save yourself or navigate through the traffic and see how you can move. But it is actually once you step out of that thing that you are able to observe that, right? So when we talk of philosophy, the same thing is happening, right? Darshan, right? We are trying to see or observe something by taking a step back, you can say, right? By becoming a little bit neutral towards it rather than just constantly imposing a way of seeing, right? So you will see this thing as you begin to study any kind of philosophy. Initially, it will give you a perspective on things, right? But as you proceed in your journey, you will actually see your mind opening up, right? So you can say, oh, a particular philosophy is restricting my way of seeing. No. The more you practice it, you will see it is actually opening your perception towards that thing, right? That is why so many people, they practice yoga and they see a complete shift in their life. Not because they were able to change everything around them. They were able to change the way in which they saw the things that were around them, right? So philosophy in general, you can choose any philosophy, in fact, but philosophy in general will change the way in which you observe or you see, right? Now, uh, darshan also emphasizes more on the things you cannot see through the senses. Okay, so this is another very typical characteristic that gets added when we use the term darshan instead of philosophy, right? You are constantly trying to observe or see something which cannot be perceived that easily, right? Now I keep saying your mind is completely changing, your thoughts are changing, right? But you will never be able to observe this thing in a concrete manner, right? You will never be able to observe, oh, I skipped from I jumped from this to that to that to that, right? You will actually have to go inward to see this thought pattern. You will not be able to keep your eyes open because your eyes will, distract you immediately, right? So you're actually trying to see what cannot be observed through your sense objects. When we talk of darshan, we are actually talking about the inward journey rather than the external journey, right? Or external world that is around me. I'm actually trying to observe something that is within me. My thoughts, they cannot be, um, they're not tangible in nature, right? And if I want to observe them, then I make all other factors constant and then see, okay, now my thoughts are shifting from here to here to here to here, right? So when we talk of darshan, again, we are trying to perceive something which cannot be perceived normally, right? So that is why, because you are in these classes, again, it requires a higher perception of the mind in order to reach this point also. Because you will see the common man is stuck in their day-to-day world, right? They are getting up, they are going to their job, they are fulfilling their responsibilities, and then they go to sleep again, and then this cycle continues for their entire life, right? But when your basic needs are fulfilled, right? You have a roof over your head, you have food to eat, you will sustain yourself, right? Then this higher perception of the mind, it starts bothering you, right? Is this it? Is this all there is to life, right? Then you move more towards finding a philosophy, right? Now, I'm not saying people who are going in a mechanical circle, they don't have a philosophy. Everybody around you and you yourself, you guys have a philosophy, right? A way of living. You have your own philosophy of how you want to make decisions and how you want to lead your life, right? But some people are just not aware that they have a particular philosophy, right? And some people have that awareness, right? So you come in that category where you have this awareness and you want to check. At least in the beginning, you want to check what your philosophy is, right? And then when you attend the yoga philosophy classes, you will see what your philosophy is and what yoga is saying, and you will see this gap. Okay, some places you will see no gap, and in some places you will see this gap, and then you will try to bridge the gap, right? Because you will experiment on your own, you might see the benefit and you will naturally want to shift. Okay, now again, I'm not saying you have to shift. You can experiment, right? And see if it is benefiting you, you can shift towards that thing in that philosophy, right? So generally when we talk of philosophy, there are three aspects that are included. Okay, so I will just write down these three aspects for you guys. Any doubts so far from anybody? Okay, whenever you have a doubt, you can unmute yourself and ask me, right? So there are three things when we generally talk of philosophy. One thing is the object. Okay, so I will just explain this thing. One thing is the observer, and one is your process. Now, without the object, the observer will have no value, right? Like for me, if you guys are not coming to classes, who will I teach, right? So in that same way, you are trying to observe something, right? So the object is of a lot of relevance, right? Now, this object, depending on what philosophy you're following, it can be external, it can be internal, it depends, right? But the object is very, very important, right? Then if you are not there, who will see, right? So if your presence, the person who is observing, the observer is also of utmost relevance when it comes to the process of darshan, right? Seeing, right? So I am here and I'm trying to see this phone, right? The phone is in front of me, right? So I'm trying to observe the mobile phone, and then there is a process through which I am seeing, right? So I have number on my eyes, right? So what I do, I put these glasses on, right? So this is the tool, this is the process which is aiding me to see what I want to see correctly, right? So darshan is also like putting on the glasses, right? To clearly observe what is in front of you. Right now, we all have, high number in our eyes, and we don't have the glasses to see what we are trying to see, right? It is so difficult to observe how your mind is working, right? But as you work through the classes, right, you will see your mind, through asana, your body becomes prepared. Through the practice of meditation, your mind is able to focus, right, and be with the object. So what you are trying to actually do is find the right number. Right now, you don't know what is the number, right? So when you start following a particular philosophy and trying to attune yourself to see the reality in that sense, right? You actually try to experiment and find what is the number of my eyes, right? So that you can find the correct glasses, the most suitable glasses for you, so that you can see the reality as it is. Now I can see the phone clearly in front of me because of this tool, right? This is the process, this is helping me, right, in seeing, right? So darshan is this process that is going on where you want to see, right? Your importance cannot be denied, the object's importance cannot be denied, And what we are actually focusing on is adjusting how we are seeing the thing, right? Because we are aware that the object and the observer are already present. Yeah. And we are just trying to enhance our process of seeing, to find the correct way of seeing. And this will happen through experiment, right? So now you guys are not only yoga students, you are also, science students, right? You're going to go to the lab. Your lab is you, right? And you're going to experiment. You're going to see what is happening when you slightly change the way in which you are living, when you slightly change how you are doing whatever you are doing in your life, right? So this is the entire concept of philosophy. Actually, we are curious and we want to know. Okay. And slowly, when we talk of philosophy, we are coming down to the portion which is specifically the Indian philosophy. Now, yoga philosophy, the classes that you are going to have, this is a part of the Indian philosophy, right? And Indian philosophy, this entire system is actually having its basis and grounding in the mostly in the Vedas, right? So VEDAS. So for Indian philosophy, I'm saying these are the scriptures we fall back on, right? So these were very, these are scriptures which were written way back and they have a very coded kind of language, right? So these became the basis for a much better understanding of who we actually are. So I'll just share my screen so that you can see all the schools of philosophy that we have in the Indian system, and then we will also see where yoga is there, and how we can get to where we are, right? Okay, so I've just shared my screen. We are coming to the classification of the schools in Indian philosophy. So you can note this down for your own general information, because this is going to, again, we are going to constantly refer back to certain things from this chart. So it will be helpful for you. Once you write down, you can just let me know, or write yes or written in the chat box so that I become aware that you have written this. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Great. So you can see Indian philosophy, it is divided in two major heads, which is the orthodox and the heterodox schools, right? So these are two major schools that overall Indian philosophy is divided into. The orthodox, in Hindi, it's called Astik, Astika, which you can read, right? And then the heterodox is called Nastik, right? So now, depending on what kind of philosophy there is, it's divided in these two. Now, Astik is the one which is completely validating the Vedas, right? It is saying whatever is written in the Vedas, it is true, and then giving its own perception on how you can reach your final goal, how you can be free from all of your sufferings, right? So it's completely validating the Vedas altogether, right? But the heterodox schools, they are not denying the Vedas, they are not accepting the Vedas. The heterodox schools are more about walking on your journey and seeing, what is true and what is not true, right? So heterodox schools are not denying the Vedas, but they are saying that we will check or we will see, right? As we walk on the path, if something is true for us, it is true for us. If something is not true for us, it is not true for us, right? But they are not accepting the Vedas, whatever is written in the Vedas, right? And nor are they denying it. They are like, okay, let's see. Yeah. So if you come to the Orthodox schools, in the beginning only you will see yoga is there. So Sankhya and yoga, they are one pair. Okay. So this is one pairing. These two form a pairing. Okay. So this will be true for all the others also. These two form a pairing, and then these two also form a pairing. So in Orthodox system, there is constantly a pairing that is going on. Yeah. So Sankhya and Yoga are one pair, then Nyaya and Vaisheshika, these are one pair, and then Mimamsa and Vedanta, they form the last pair. Now these schools are paired together because one is giving you the theory, right? Main theoretical background of why, what the things are, how are they the way they are, right? And then the other one is giving you the practice. Okay, so it is accepting the truth that is being discussed in the theoretical school, right? And then they are giving the practices how you can see this reality through the practices, right? So like for us the most relevant is the first pairing, Sankhya and Yoga. We will start yoga philosophy. So if you like yoga philosophy, you can also find a lot of basis in Sankhya to, in order to understand why the theory is being talked of, why something is being talked of. You can go and take a like closer look at the Sankhya philosophy. You will understand yoga more deeply, right? Then Nyaya and Vaisheshika. So these are also again coming in pairing. One is giving the theory, one is giving the practice. And same goes for Mimamsa and Vedanta. Both of them, one is theory, one is the practical portion, right? So these are the 6 schools of the Orthodox system. Then when we come to the heterodox system, we have 3 schools: Buddhism, which is very, very famous throughout the world today, right? Jainism and Charvak. Okay, these are 3 philosophies which are mainly dealing with how you have to do the things and how whatever you experience that becomes the main source of your truth. Now I keep telling you, okay, this thing is happening, this thing is happening, but you are not able to validate that thing. Your experience is not validating that thing. So why do you have to believe in that? Right? So these 3 schools, they are more about the experience that you are having and your truth being based on your experience, right? When you follow a process, then you go towards this understanding, right? That okay, this is correct for me, this is not correct for me, right? So Buddhism, Jainism, and Charvak, these are 3 philosophies which you can read in case you find yourself, doubting certain things, or if you find that okay, this is a better path for me, right? Depending on each philosophy, they have their own way of uh, telling you and helping you to reach this final liberation or freedom from all of your sufferings, right? So yeah, okay. So these are your 9 schools. So overall, Indian philosophy has 9 schools. 6 are orthodox, 3 are heterodox. Any doubts so far in these 2 things? No doubts? Okay, great. So now you understand the overall basis where you are coming from, how you reached till this point, right? Now let's come to our main school, yoga philosophy, right? So I'll just briefly touch upon what yoga philosophy is. Tomorrow we will discuss more on this thing, but today we are just going to go for a brief introduction, right? So yoga, yoga, this term, it's talking about union, right? Yog is derived from the root word yuj, Y-U-J. Okay, which means to unite, yoke, join. Right? So this term, when you join something or when there is a union that is taking place, you will see that the union is leading to more harmony, right? So suppose two things are going in separate directions, right? And I want to, I am basically introducing a process where they can come more in harmony with one another, right? So this is your entire process of yoga. This is the process. Everything that you're doing, it's putting you more in harmony with the realities of life, with the truths of life, right? And because now you are coming in more in sync with the things that were always supposed to, you should have always functioned, in the knowing these realities, right? You feel more harmony as you go into the process of you, right? So right now what is happening, you don't know what is the ultimate, the universal truths, you can say. So you are just functioning like this or like that, or however, where you grew up, they are teaching you, you should live your life like this, you should complete this education, or maybe you should have a job by this age. So you are living more in harmony with the society around, right? And the way in which the society is structured, right? It is not in harmony with the ultimate truths, especially if I talk of the modern society, right? It is not in harmony with the universal truths, right? So what is happening, because you are functioning according to the society around you, you are causing some disharmony, right? And there is this constant fight that is going on within you, right? So when you go into the process of yoga, into understanding what yoga is, you will see this harmonization taking place. Now whatever you are doing, it's actually giving you satisfaction, and there is nothing extraordinary that you are doing, right? You're just getting more in alignment with the realities, right? And you're functioning according to that. So as you begin to do this thing, you will find a lot of calmness come into your life, or you can say you will be, at least momentarily, you will be, much more peaceful, right? And it is, you are doing nothing extraordinary. That this should be your main understanding. You're just aligning yourself according to the rules of nature, right? So you will see you are functioning more in harmony with nature also, right? Now when you practice yoga during your day, you will get so tired, there is no scope that you will stay awake at night, right? So in the beginning, at least, you will start sleeping timely. Now when you have your yoga classes, before a few hours before, you don't have to eat food, or your stomach should be empty. So again, your meals will become more uniform, right? And your digestion will take place timely, so that you are ready for your practice, right? So again, you will focus on, your eating habits. As you practice yoga, you will focus on your sleeping habits, and it is a mixture of all of these things. You will not eat out of line, you will not sleep when the nature is not supporting it, right? So what is going to happen, you're naturally going to feel better, right? Because the life is such in today's world, we have to work overtime, we have to stay awake late, so we are coming, we are getting disbalanced somewhere. We are not in sync with nature. When the sun goes down, generally, in earlier times, people didn't eat, or when the sun went down, people used to sleep, right? But because of so much technology coming in, we are unable to do these things now, right? So what will start happening, because of the process of yoga, you will by default start getting more synchronized with nature, right? And this is the entire process. There is no force in the process, right? There is only discipline that is required. But as you keep practicing, you will see you will not have to force the things. They will come naturally to you. Like, when you go on a trip, right? Suppose you go on vacation. Now, when you go on vacation, you generally, if you're living in a city, you go more towards nature, right? And when you go more towards nature, when you are in touch with nature, you start observing, right? Your own self you see, right? Early in the morning, you will wake up. Nobody will ask you to wake up early in the morning, right? But when you come closer to nature, by default, you start waking up early. By default, you start functioning in harmony with the nature, right? And as you move into the city, the developed life, you start losing touch with the cycles of nature, which again causes a lot of stress, a lot of tension, right? So now, living in your current situation, when you practice yoga, you will start seeing this harmony come back. And this is what yoga is all about, the state where you are more in sync with everything around you, right? Any doubts in today's session? Any questions, any doubts? Okay, great. So we will continue this tomorrow, where I will explain to you more deeply the meaning of yoga. So tomorrow we are going to jump to yoga, right? Today we have covered what philosophy is. So let's end our session for today. So sit comfortably wherever you are. Keep your back and neck straight. And when you feel ready, very gently close your eyes. Connect with your breathing. We will close our session with one Om chanting, followed by three Shanti. Take a deep breath in for Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Feel the vibrations. Join your palms together and gently bow down. We will begin our day with a sense of gratitude. Just feeling grateful for everything we have. Begin to rub your palms together. Keep your palms on your eyes. Very slowly, while blinking and looking at your palms, begin to open up your eyes and come back with a big smile. Namaste to everyone. I will see all of you in your pranayam class, which we have in the afternoon. So take care, guys, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care. See you.
Bye-bye.